forgot to record that. Number 4, the number of people in the room. This is a typo, sorry. The number of people in the room is modeled by that function. What is n of 1? First of all, the calculation should have been easy. It's just straight up putting 1 in, which is 15. Any Algebra 1 kid could work out the function notation. The interpretation, not so much. What does it represent? N of 1 equals 15 means at time equal 1 with units, at time equal 1 minute, what? What does n represent? Number of people in the room. So at time equal 1 minute, there are 15 people in the room. Okay? Not really calculus at that point. N prime would involve the derivative, whether you actually wrote it or mentally. So this goes to rookie kind of mistakes. Did you use the product rule? Could you use the product rule? Yes. Is it unnecessarily complicated? Yes. What's better? It's already factored the other way. Distributed how? 16t minus t squared. Isn't that a lot easier to take the derivative on than the product rule? Okay, so what's the derivative? N prime is 16 minus 2t. Therefore, n prime at 1 is 14, yeah? Now, I told you yesterday it helps if you think of the derivative in Leibniz notation, dn dt. D stands for delta, or Roman delta. Change in number over change in time. This is a rate of change. So I'm hoping you're reading something or writing something like this. At time equal 1 minute, the number of people in the room is. Now you're going to interpret both the number and the sign. Because the derivative is positive, the number is changing in a positive way, and therefore the number of people is increasing. The increasing word has to be there. At time equal 1 minute, the number of people in the room is increasing at a rate of 14. What are the units on that 14? dn dt. People per minute. Okay. All right, last but not least, the normal line, y equals x plus natural log. It's a lot like writing a tangent line, as we said. Point, slope, point, slope. The slope has got a little bit of a wrinkle in. What's the point? When x is 1, y is? When x is 1, y is 1 plus log of 1. What's log of 1? 0, so y is 1. The point is 1, 1. The slope is the derivative at 1. What's the derivative of x plus log of x? 1 plus 1 over x. At 1, the slope is 2. Is that the normal slope? No, that's the tangent slope. The tangent slope is the derivative, as it always has been. The normal slope is perpendicular. So what's the perpendicular slope? Negative 1/2. It's the opposite sign and reciprocal. Now write the equation with the point and the slope. Y minus 1 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 1. You in? Yes. Is this anybody's lunch? Somebody left this here. Trying not to look into it. That sounds real jingle. All right. Today's lesson is pretty. What is this? Oh yeah. Sorry. There's no lesson today. It's. Maybe you should practice it. Should we try the one off the homework? Yeah. Let's try it. Let's make sure. I might be overestimating your abilities. Maybe not. Let's see. Where did I put it? There it is. Okay. Cue on tonight's homework. That's the new stuff. It's rational functions, which we've already done. The only difference is what happens if some even exponents are in there. What will happen if you have even exponents? How would that change things? I'm still going to have x-intercepts bouncing. Yeah, there'll be either bouncing off an x-intercept, or in the vertical asymptote case, it won't bounce off an asymptote, obviously, but it will not sign change. No sign change around a vertical asymptote. By that I mean y will stay positive or stay negative on either side of that. Okay, so with that said, give that graph a go, please. Obviously, it's not calculated. Let me know if you have questions. This is not really giving you much instruction here. Is this working out okay? Okay. So I can maybe give you some tips, not on how to do it, but how to do it quicker. So let me, if you haven't already started or you're not too far into it, let me give you an example of how I might do this pretty fast. First of all, are we all clear on where the x-intercepts and vertical asymptotes are to begin with? Okay. There are no holes here. Second thing, this, I know it feels like that's important, but why is this, and it is important in a way, but does this contribute any x-intercept? No, it has no real solutions. X squared is always positive, plus 1 is 1 and up, no zeros. It does contribute to the overall shape of the graph and the end behavior for sure, but it doesn't have any x-intercepts. I do this pretty quickly by saying the intervals are from negative infinity to negative 1, negative 1 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 5, and 5 to infinity. You with me? You could definitely do that below the graph too. I just didn't have enough room. I do this factor by factor. That factor, it's squared, and therefore it is always positive. I would therefore go that factor, always positive. That factor, always positive. That guy, now that's negative and positive in different regions. Where is it negative? Where is it positive? It's going to change around 3. Do you agree? And less than 3, it'll be negative, and after 3, it'll be. So I'm thinking negative, 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 now positive, positive. That guy is squared, and therefore it's always positive. And that guy, it's squared. It's always positive. Therefore, in that region, I have 1 negative, and therefore y is negative. In this region, y is still negative. In this region, 1 negative, still negative. In this region, now all positive, positive, positive. After that, it's trying to figure out how the graph works. Now, over here, I know I need to be negative. What about the end behavior? Does the graph approach the x-axis or some other horizontal asymptote? X-axis, why? End behavior says this is overall power of what in the top? X to the 4th in the top and x to the 5th in the denominator. The denominator wins. As the denominator grows even faster, the numbers will get smaller and smaller. So it'll go to 0 from the negative side. So like that. After it touches -1, it goes back to being negative. So that is actually going to be a bounce point, and then it'll have to turn down at the vertical asymptote. However, once it goes over 1, it's still negative. So from 1 to 3, to stay negative, it'll be that kind of shape. From 3 to 5, it's got to be positive, but within the asymptotes. So an upward shape. And from 5 to infinity, it's got to be positive and follow asymptotes, and so it's an L shape. Are you with me? Okay, cool. All right, questions on the homework. Here we go. Do you have set 40 out? If not, get set 40 out. Let's go over the replacements first, and then any other questions after. Here we go. Let's go. Okay. Okay, did you get L prime at 11 is either e to the -1, or if you use your calculator, it might be something like 1 divided by e. Shucks. E to the -1. 0.367, yes? Okay. Interpret your answer in context of the problem. That's dl dt is 0.367 over 1, and leave, and L is number of people who leave. Now that's over time. So people leaving per time unit, which is hours. So your interpretation should be something like at time equal 11 hours. People are leaving at a rate of 0.367 people per hour. Is that what you got? No? Yes? All right. E prime at 11 minus L prime at 11. E prime at 11 minus L prime at 11 would be something like, oh, a mess. E prime at 11 was what, 95 over the square root of t plus 1 times 1 over 2 t plus 1. E prime at 11 is 95 over the square root of t plus 1. Chain rule, you didn't have to do it by hand, you could have used a calculator. Does somebody have an answer for me for E prime at 11, or did you have the whole thing? Either way, do you have E prime at 11 minus L prime at 11 for me, somebody? Talk to me. 3.958?
Oh, wait. And
That's the joint rate? Okay, great, thank you. Perfect. Hey, that was this rate? 3.590 is, are you talking about the total rate or just the top for 3.590? The total is 3.590?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so the overall derivative difference answer is 3.590. The fact that that's positive in a difference means the first number is positive, yes? Right, now the first number represents the enter rate. The second number represents the leave rate. If that's positive, then the enter rate is greater than the leave rate, and so the number of people will be increasing. And we need to say it that way. At time equal 11 hours, does that mean that 3.59 people are entering per hour? This is a very common error. Does this mean that 3.59 people are entering per hour? Why doesn't that work? Because that would that represent the net rate, or are they talking about, that would be what E is, right? So it's more like a net rate we're talking about. So talk to me about how to say this. At time equal 11 hours, you could say net, let's go with number of people. Complete this. The number of people at the fair, I think it's at a fair, is increasing at a rate of 3.590 people per hour. Now, I told you that I need for uniformity. It would read different explanations. For example, if somebody had said, at time equal 11 hours, 3.590 more people per hour are entering and leaving, that would be true. Kind of weird. You with me? All right. These are hard. Keep trying. Is the number of people increasing or decreasing at time equal 5? There are two approaches to this. You could say enter rate at 5 minus leave rate at 5 and interpret the sign. Or you could find enter rate at 5, leave rate at 5, and then compare. Both of those are satisfactory ways to approach the problem. Now, if you do it this way, did anybody do E prime at 5 minus L prime at 5 and have the numerical answer for me? What'd you get, Kira? Say it again? Oh, okay. If you do that, I wish I would have had this down. Sorry. E prime at 5. If you have that, it can really save you some time, but otherwise I'll do it. Oh, calculus 7.916. That's the net rate of 5. Okay, thank you. Okay, if that's staring me in the face, then what does that tell me? Increasing. Okay, you would say the number is increasing at time equal 5, and rather than have the person make the connection, you have to communicate the connection. You would say because E prime at 5 minus L prime at 5 is positive or greater than 0. Either one's fine. Okay? because the enter rate, now that would be positive because the enter rate is greater than the leave rate, which leads me to the other possible explanation. You could find this, find that, and say increasing because the enter rate at 5 is greater than the leave rate at 5. Now I will say this, what I have here on this side wouldn't cut it because it has no evidence. You have to not only say the conclusion, but you have to have and report the evidence to back it up. So you'd have to give E prime at 5, give L prime at 5, and say, boom, there's the evidence, it's increasing because. You with me? Okay. 20. Using left-hand rectangles on their unequal bases. And remember, when they're unequal bases, there's no factoring out of E, right? Okay, how many rectangles are there? 3. Okay, I don't know about you, but again, trying to do this quickly, I would do the bases first. The first base is 2, then 3, then 5. 2, 3, 5. Then I do the heights, showing where they come from. F at, if I'm using left, do I use F at 0 or F at 2? 0. 2F at 0 plus 3F at 2 plus 5F at 5. If you do that, then you're working with something like 2 times 4 plus 3 times 12 plus 5 times 3. I'm getting 8 plus 36 plus 15. And so that feels like 59 to me. Do you agree? Okay. Using right-hand rectangles, the bases. Will the bases change? No, they'll be the same. So it's still 2, 3, and 5. The heights would be different. F at would be different. What is your estimate using right hand, somebody? 30? 50? 58. Sorry, I'm kind of deaf. 58. All right, they worked out to be pretty close in this case. All right, if you disagree with that, we can go back to talk about later. Continuous and differentiable. Would you real quick just tell me the 3 reasons a graph could be not differentiable or a function could be not differentiable at a point? Discontinuity, sharp turn, vertical, not vertical asymptote, vertical tangent, which is to say undefined slope. Okay. So we're going to look to see if this graph is both continuous, the 2 pieces meet, and differentiable, which is to say the slope smoothly transition from one into the other. First, continuity. The left-hand limit is 1, yeah? -1, excuse me. And the right-hand limit is also -1. Therefore, that line and the parabola are meeting. Okay? Now the question is, oops, I'm not there yet. F of -1, is F of -1 defined? Yeah, it has to be defined somewhere so that the graphs meet and there's a point there. It is defined. It equals the same, -1. So is F continuous? The graphs meet and the point is filled? Yes, it is continuous. Okay, now what about the derivatives? The left-hand derivative, what's the slope of the curve on the left side of -1? Well, it's linear, so the slope is the same as the slope of the line, which is 2. Okay? On the right-hand side, well, F prime would be 2 on the left, but 2x on the right. At -1, then, what is the slope of the parabola at -1? 2 or -2? -2, all right? Now, that would mean then that the slope is going from straight to 2 to straight to -2, just like that. That's a no-go. Okay, it's got to be smooth. And so is it differentiable at -1? No, there is a sharp turn. Okay? The slopes don't match. Alrighty. Use your calculator to find the equation of the normal line to this. So if I were to first find the point on the curve when x is 1.2, y at 1.2 is roughly the, tangent of 1.2 squared minus 2. I'm getting negative 4.672. How about you? Ish. All right. The slope. First find the tangent slope. dy dx at 1.2 is, hopefully you're good with your calculator and finding the derivative with your calculator. 1.2 of 3 tangent of x squared minus 2 cha-cha-cha. I got a slope of 10.030. How about you? Okay. Now remember, you're not finding the tangent line, you're finding the normal line, so now you take the opposite reciprocal of that. So negative reciprocal of that, 1 divided by that answer, maybe negative 0.990997. So my line, something like y plus 4.672 times negatives, or equals negative 0.0997 times x minus 1.2. We? Cool. Yep. Nope. No, you didn't. So you could have told me that when I was actually on the y value. Yep, I only typed in 1, not 1.2. Never late for never, huh? No. All right, so negative 6, what did you say, negative 6.555? Negative 1. I put it times instead of negative 1.881. Okay, negative 1.88. Okay, thank you. All right, last but not least, as far as replacements go, this is a graph of f prime. Where does f have a relative max? What did you say? At x equal what? 1? Okay. Can it really be that easy? Hey, there's relative max right there at 1. See, that's the top. Oh no, silly. That's the max of f prime. That's not the question. The question isn't what's the graph of f prime. Anybody with vision can answer that question. The question is what's the max of f? And the max of f is at x equal 2. Because the derivative goes positive to negative there. If I were to look at the function, it would have been increasing all the way up to, actually decreasing to 0, increasing up to 2, then decreasing after. There's a max at 2, not 1. F has a max at x equal 2 because f prime changes or goes from positive to negative there. Okay? So slow your roll there, people, and think harder. All right? Other questions on set 80, 41, 40, never mind, 40. Set 40 questions, others. 24. Did you say 3 or 23? 3. 24 and 3. Okay, 24 and 3. Let me know if you have others. Okay. 24. Okay? So it would have helped probably to have a little written out that some of the cubes is to say if you added the cubes of a bunch of whole numbers until some ending point, you can find the sum by doing all the cubes and adding them up, or there's a formula based on how far you went or ended at. And the formula they're saying is this, which would be a heck of a lot easier to use for big ends than adding and adding and adding and adding. It says verify this formula works for the sum of the cubes of the first three positive integers. So when they say verify, they're saying show that either doing this by hand or doing this by formula works out the same either way. In other words, show that the formula works for at least this case. It seems to be working. Well, 1 plus 8 plus 27, the sum feels like it should be 36. Does the formula work? Well, it's 3 times 4 over 2 quantity squared. That's 12 over 2 or 6 quantity squared, which is indeed 36. That seems then to work, at least for n equals 3 it does. You with me? Now then, that's what they mean by verify. Then they say, all right, now that you know the formula works, find the sum of the first 40 positive integers. So 1 cubed plus 2 cubed plus 3 cubed through 40 cubed. Now obviously that would be really tedious to do by hand, so they're saying use a formula now. So with an n of 40,
Good morning, Captain Jack. Please drive to the Central East. I pledge allegiance to the flags of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dublin production of Our Town opens tonight at 7 p.m. Only 3 nights to see this amazing play. Students get one ticket only for $4 today at lunch, or only pay $5 at the door through student ID. Regularly priced tickets will be $10 at the door. We'll see you in Grover's Corners.
National Junior Honor Society will meet in the cafeteria on Friday during the 7th hour.
okay,
Please sign up
three,
and report to the cafeteria. Let Mr. Northway know if you have a conflict.
Reminder, today's picture retake day until noon. Students that have not taken a picture yet already this year, please stop by to have a picture taken.
Today is the busiest day in California with college visits. Don't forget to get a pass for Washington University, St. Louis, St. Mary's College of Maryland, Stone Hill College, Williams College, Baylor University, Caltech, and Oregon Institute of Technology. These representatives have raised your college ethics.
Tomorrow, many highly recognized colleges will be here, and you will want to pass them announcement. Sign up for Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, Whittier College, College of the Holy Cross, Linfield College, Knox College, Hope University, Villanova University, Texas Christian University, Pullman University, and Johns Hopkins University.
Tonight is the Lakewood High School out-of-state college fair, United 6:30 p.m. If interested, a financial aid presentation
Okay.
at 5:15 and 6 p.m.
so there's the point. Are you with me?
Please come to Yogurtland at Chick-fil-A in Bellevue tomorrow from 6 to 10 p.m. to help raise money for the volleyball team.
This is the last reminder for girls menstruating for collecting money for t-shirts. Please leave the $5 fee in California by tomorrow and turn in your gift donation form.
Pre-bowling is scheduled for the cafeteria today during the 7th hour for 11th graders with the last name spelled Christie and any other 11th graders that did not complete pre-bowling yesterday. Please bring a number 2 pencil.
10th graders will be required to accept the hour based on last week, Monday, October 8th, Tuesday, October 9th, and
Okay,
Thursday,
now maybe the graph is the issue. Yeah. Okay, so this is my
Congratulations to
thought
Adonis
process.
Pastrana, who participated in the 4A boys golf state tournament. He had a 2-day combined total of 165, which placed him 29th out of 82 total state qualifiers. He represented our Dublin boys golf team well, and we are proud
tonight at Gold Crown. 5:30 p.m. at Davie and 7 o'clock for varsity. Go Jags.
Congrats to the softball team for another impressive win at Evergreen. The Jaguars broke a 7th inning 2-2 tie with 7 runs in the 7th. Last game is Saturday at Golden 10 a.m. Good luck. Today is Brady Sullivan's birthday, so don't make sure to happy.
Okay, so the thought process, especially if you're going to go on to math in college, they do use the calculator a lot less. So they would expect you to be able to graph something like this by hand. This is my thought process. Natural log, I know what the graph looks like. Absolute value makes negatives allowed, so that is the graph with absolute value. Then I'd say, what does the negative do? The negative causes a flip. Then I'd say, what does the 3 do? The 3 causes a stretch. All that goes through your minds is kind of like that after you practice it, right? The normal line then, the tangent line runs like this. So the normal line, I wanted you to show visually, this is the normal line. It runs perpendicular to the tangent line. That's what you should have shown. Okay? Other questions on set? Never mind. Have a lovely day. Come in regularly if you're new to all this calculus stuff, so nothing gets too built up, please. Okay. All right.
Also, it's called.
Have a great day. You have a great day. Are you ready for basketball season? You in shape? And my opinion.
6:30.
Could definitely run.
I ran like a 6:18 last night.
Good? Last night? Oh, well, last semester after basketball season. Not right now. I'm thinking, I think we can do 7:30. 7:30.
I could definitely run it.
Have a lovely day. Hi, homie. There's a pencil. Have a pencil. No, you can't take that. That's what you said. You said you have something to eat in there. Lunch cookie. Not anymore, buddy.
We're here till 5 or 5:30.
5:30. So you guys go ahead and start, start with a W.
Can we text you and tell
It's
what?
not that cold, really.
Can we text?
And why French onion? Why not broccoli cheddar?
Can we text and tell you what?
Can I stop this recording though, because this is recording.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Stop it. Stop it.